Okay, so just to move right along, so we've basically tinkered around with this, and we've had a little obstacle here trying to figure out how this exactly is set up. So what we're going to do is we went ahead and followed the instructions as the manual said, although we're a little skeptical about if we did it right or not, but we'll find out later on. Basically, when you plug in all the servos to the servo commander and you stay zeroed out, or basically align the servos, it downloads from the manager into the motion editor and sets it all. You'll see they're all set to a certain digits are set correctly. They're all 1500. This is all related directly to the software, so when you see it, you'll pop up. Basically, what I did here is just to make sure I made sure that all the values that are there for all the channels are set to 1500, speed 0, and time 0 across the board. And I saved the module accordingly, and that was it. So let's move ahead. I'm going to come back here. I'm going to continue through. We were on step 2. So let's move ahead now. Now we're moving on to step 3. So let me exit the motion and the I/O basic workshop. Now it says basically we're going to mount the servo discs. So it looks like after all we are going to be using these components. So let me kind of just reposition a few things here and put us back to where we were. Okay, so we're back over here now. Let's move this off to the side. Put ourselves back where we were. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and turn this off now and unplug it and disconnect this for now. I don't want anything bad to happen to the servo commander. And move all these cables out of the way. So now we're on to the step where it says we're going to be connecting or mounting the servo discs. So I'm going to make sure there's no other mysterious servo discs here that I need to mount to make sure that these are the only ones I need to mount. And it looks like that's the case. So I'm going to take those plastic baggies that we separated earlier in the presentation, and I'm going to take them out now one by one. I'm going to start mounting the servo discs onto each servo. Now, this is fairly simple to do. Sorry about that. There we go. So the servo disc, as per the picture, is just the white disc that's included in each servo baggie. And that goes mounted on like so and just kind of snaps in. You will need one of the screws. So what I like to do is with the servos is that there's like a cross shape on top of the servo disc, and I just make sure that they are set up properly. And I do give it a quick turn. It looks pretty much synced there. Okay. So then there's screws included with this. So with these screws, there's one little black screw. I'm going to go ahead and take that black screw and use that one to actually fasten the servo disc in. Now there are larger screws in there. I do not think we're going to need them for now. I think we'll suffice with just the black screw. Let me put all these little parts away. Make sure to keep these things. These are always handy to have. We'll probably wind up using them in the actual... We might wind up using them for our kit. We might not. And if we're not, well, we just got some free parts, which is always nice to have, because later on down the road you might want to reconfigure this. Maybe make larger legs or anything really. This kit lends to to modifications since it's all plexiglass and the parts aren't specific, super specific in terms of the legs. So feel free to experiment, especially if you have access to plexiglass or other materials. I've also seen people take the same kit and use balsa wood, and they hand fashioned new legs out of it. Just made sure that the servos would fit properly, and they made like daddy long leg type robots. So basically what I'm doing, I'm just taking these all out so I can hurry along, and it'll make the whole process a lot faster. So let's do those 3 there. And we have 2 more packs. Let's get these 2 here. Again, just get the servo disc and the black screw that's included in the baggie, and that should suffice. Now I'm going exactly what it says by the picture, because the picture clearly shows each leg with its servo disc. Now, you saw me turn the servo once I plugged in one of those discs. I made sure that it was properly aligned at the same angle when I put it back. Make sure you do the same if you decide to do the same that I just did. Otherwise, you'll wind up with misaligned servos. And follow the same procedure. Try to put the cross that's on the disc itself. Let's see if you can actually see the cross. So yeah, the cross, I try to put it like this just to keep it consistent. In the black screw. Now this is a black screw. It's a very tiny screw. So far we needed to have two. We need to screw in tiny screws for the power and for the servo. So I definitely recommend that you have a screwdriver set that has small enough screwdrivers, or at least screwdriver tips, so that you can easily screw these things in without stripping them. It's very easy to strip a screw. Especially these smaller ones, they're not the metal. I mean, they're just so small that the metal's not strong enough to hold the pressure of the larger screwdriver. Okay, so that's 3 down and 2 more to go. After 3 more to go. Remember, each time I'm making sure that the disc is aligned how I want it. You know, and you can do it however you want. The key thing that I try to emphasize is be consistent with however you do it. You know, if you want to mount them at an angle, mount them all at the angle. If you want to mount them all like this, mount them all like this. If you mount them all separate, you might get confused with their positionings later, and it might make troubleshooting for you more difficult. When it comes to any engineering practice, consistency helps quite a bit. Even though we're not engineering, but we are building. Okay. Okay, so we've gone ahead and done that. Now let's scroll down. That was step 3. Now we're going to be mounting the connecting plate. So the connecting plate, as per the diagram, is these oval-shaped plates. Those will be connected to the actual disc with 4 screws, and they'll be, what it looks like is we're connecting another set of servos to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just mount one part of it. Let's see, what screws do we need to use here? We're going to need to use 8 screws for each one of these mountings. So I'm going to use, it's 4 per servo. And it looks like we're going to need additional screws, and actually the baggie that included 3 compartments has another baggie here, and these clearly look like the screws that'll be screwed into those. So I'm going to go ahead and open those up. Excuse me. Now, we've got a lot of screws on the table, so just try to make sure not to... I'm actually just going to open this up so that way I can keep all the screws in here. These are screws that I lose quite a bit just because they're so small. So, it says to mount these perpendicularly, basically, and there's a groove on one side and not on the other, so I'm assuming the groove is going to be facing downward. The groove is on the middle hole, right here. I'm not sure if you can see it or not, but there's a middle hole, that big hole right there in the center. There's a groove on one side and it's flat on the other. Mount the groove side downward onto the servo itself, because the servo actually is slightly raised. Now, you want to screw these in. Now these are self-tapping screws, because you will need to, they're not going to fit into the hole and just slide right in. Nice thing about these is that once you get it right, and they're done, they're going to hold forever basically. And they're easy to put in, they don't need a nut. The bad thing about it is, if you put it in wrong the first time, it's going to be, that'll always be a little loose on you. I'm not sure if you can use